Let's talk about highest to lowest. It was all right. I think it was just all right. It is directed by Spike Lee. Evan Hunter did the screenplay. It's based on a movie called High and Low, a Japanese movie from 1965, I think, by Akira Kurosawa. I have not seen this movie, so I'm only judging this one based on its own merit. I have nothing to compare it to. Highest to lowest is about a music mogul played by Denzel Washington who is the target of a ransom plot. And so then he's caught in a life or death moral dilemma while he is trying to save his family and his legacy. I think a lot more could have been done with the whole moral dilemma part. There's some interesting things in the movie about privilege, some, I wouldn't say critique per se, but just it's presented. I think it could have gone farther as far as critique. So there's some things in there about privilege. There's some things in there about socioeconomic status. But overall, it is a story about David King, again played by Denzel Washington. And I didn't really connect to David King. I wasn't rooting for David King. I was more interested in him as a Hades sort of person. And I say this having just watched Hades Town on Broadway, but I'll talk about more in a little bit. So, in addition to Denzel, it also stars Jeffrey Wright. It also stars Ilfanesh Hadira, who was giving me Marjorie Harvey, and it also stars A$AP Rocky, who I think did a really great job. When he popped up, finally, I was like, "Oh damn, they're throwing you into the deep end with some monologues," and he did really well. Let's talk about the movie. So real quick, let's go over the plot. Okay, David King's son gets kidnapped. I don't like the way that was shot, where like we were very far away from him when he gets the call and he gets the information from the kidnapper, aka young felon played by A$AP Rocky, that he has his son and he wants some money. It made me suspicious of David, which wasn't a bad thing because like David is shady, but there are a few times in this movie that like things happen very quickly. It's like when you're on the highway driving and then you almost make your exit, and then you realize at the last minute that here's your exit, and you suddenly make a right and get off the highway. Some development, or I should say resolution, gave me whiplash. So David gets a phone call. We don't hear anything that's said. He comes inside. He tells his wife Pam, "Our boy Trey has been kidnapped." Okay, the cops come. Okay, they tell him they're gonna set up shop in the penthouse. The wife is very distraught. She says, "We will pay anything that the I was gonna say killer that the kidnapper asked for. We'll pay anything. We want our baby boy back." The whole time, David's looking like, "Yeah, we will do that." And so Trey is kidnapped, but then all of a sudden Trey is not kidnapped. And again, we're with David. We hear the wife scream. He runs out, and she's like, "They found him! They found him!" Just like that. Just like that, they find him. I was like, "Oh, so I guess we're not gonna stay with the storyline." Turns out the kidnapper accidentally took the wrong kid. Instead of Trey, they took Trey's friend Kyle because Kyle was wearing the same headband that belongs to Trey. Kyle is the son of Paul. Paul is the driver. He is David's driver. And so here we get into the interesting part, right? Because on David's part, when it was his son, the wife was like, "We'll pay anything." The kidnapper is asking for 17.5, I think, $1 million, 17.5 or 17.8 $1 million. Now, when it's Kyle, all of a sudden David's like, I don't really have, that's a lot of money. That's a lot of money. And even on the cops' part, when it was Trey that was kidnapped, the son of a big deal music mogul, they were very sensitive and delicate in how they spoke to David and how they talked about his son. And even when Trey comes back and they're questioning him, they're very like, they show deference to David and to his family. But when it's Paul and his son, first of all, Paul is he has a rap sheet. They're very brusque with him. They're very short. They're very impatient. They're very cold. There's none of the sensitivity that they employed with David. And so there's something there about, again, David's privilege, about how the cops treat you when you have money, how the cops treat you when you occupy a high place in the social hierarchy, versus how they treat you when you are at the bottom of the totem pole. You have a rap sheet. There's nothing you can really do for them. You don't have the respect of society or of the world. And David's part, this is why I say like he's a lot more interesting to me as a Hades, who like a figure that people have to convince to care about the little guy, because Paul does confront David about his hesitation, because he literally says, when it was Trey, y'all were willing to pay, and now it's my kid, like, you know me, and you don't want to do this, like, I would pay you back. And David's like, how are you gonna pay me back? I was very interested in that, and I wish the movie would have interrogated that dynamic, and Paul's powerlessness, and even like this quote unquote friendship slash work relationship, we're boys but not really. But in the end it goes nowhere, because Paul doesn't hold a grudge against David. He doesn't really challenge him. The one person who does try to challenge David is Trey, when he's like, you know, my dad, I don't remember what he says, but he calls David out on his willingness to literally let Kyle possibly die, and also let his son take the hit in the media, because the rumors are that Trey set up his friend to be kidnapped. But when Trey cracks the dad's face with that, David pulls rank and gets in his face as the parent, as the dad, I pay all the bills type stuff. And so that goes nowhere. And so then the police come to David with a plan, like, you can fake give him this money, we'll protect you, here's the plot, blah blah blah, we'll trick him. And David's like, it's a long-ish scene, and that it's filled with silence, and you see David being very, very cold, and he ultimately says no. Or he doesn't verbally say no, but the cop is like, we'll figure something else out because you're taking too long, obviously you don't want to do this. And so he walks out, and then like the very next scene, David says, okay, I'll do it. And this is the whiplash I'm talking about, because like you pulled me in with this man's, like, he is immovable. One of the record execs, whatever, who's part of the company, came to him to talk some sense into him and say, like, this is bad for business, like, you can't let this boy possibly get murdered. And David's like, why not, like, it'd be like sympathetic, blah 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 blah. And so David is again cold, immovable, but that's not the point of his story. He just kind of is. The point of his story is him finding his passion when it comes to the music industry, like his passion for music versus his passion for the business of music. And so the way this all works out is like he does go ahead with the police's plan to like give the money so that they can corner the kidnapper. The kidnapper takes the money. It turns out he has a whole system, and so they lose the money. And then turns out this is money that David actually could not barter with. That money belongs to the shareholders, and so him using it for anything other than what he was supposed to use it for, which is to like hold on to the company or whatever, is tantamount to fraud. And so when they revealed that, I was like, oh crap, I think I kind of do agree with him that he shouldn't have used the money like that. So this is the type of stuff that was like intriguing to me. Is this cold-hearted man who really only cares about his family, no one else, and how is he managing this? But I think the script, Spike, like, just didn't delve into that enough. Everything was, we're going, and then boop, resolved. He eventually finds young Felon, Aesop's character. The best scene in the movie is the scene between David and young Felon in the studio, where they're like rapping with each other back and forth through this thing. Young Felon, he used to idolize David. The idolatry turned to hatred, because young Felon, when he wrote to him to give him a chance, David would not. In the end, David sells his company or whatever and opens another company where he's gonna focus on the artist. I don't care about that. I don't care about him listening to this gospel song or whatever called Highest to Lowest, Wouldn't You Know It, and he's feeling inspired again. I don't give a crap. I think this movie is average. I give it 3 out of 5 stars. It has some interesting parts, but unfortunately, that wasn't the point. And Paul decides to go his own way and not work for David anymore, but not because David betrayed him, but because he felt it was time. No, no.